A hero exists to save others, but Bruce Wayne exists to punish himself. He isn't just a protector. He is a man sacrificing every ounce of his remaining humanity for a rotting city. Gotham doesn't have a protector. It has a silent witness to its own decay. 2 years is merely a meaningless mechanical duration if you spend every second of it nursing a black hole in your chest just to keep it gaping open. On this channel, Subject Lab, we often try to find the point where a human takes full control over their suffering. But in Bruce Wayne, we see the exact opposite. Someone who lets the suffering take control over him. Bruce isn't patrolling to clean the streets. He is committing structured self-harm through armor and clenched fists. He calls himself Vengeance, not as a title of honor, but as an anesthetic, a painkiller he injects into his veins every night so he doesn't have to deal with the reality that he is just an orphan who failed to save his world. But Vengeance is a terrible architect. It is exceptionally skilled at tearing things down, but it never knows how to rebuild. There is a frequency of sound that can only be understood by those who have surrendered to life. The dry crack of breaking bones, the stifled gasp of fear, and the grinding of rigid armor. For Bruce, these sounds are the background music that helps him stay awake amidst chronic numbness. He isn't looking for justice. He is looking for a physical sensation strong enough to drown out the screaming in his head that hasn't stopped for 2 decades. Every punch he lands beneath the dim streetlights is not a punishment for a stranger. It is a desperate attempt to strike back at the memory of that night in the alley. He tries to shatter destiny through the faces of the criminals he meets, as if by breaking enough bones, he could turn back time and stop his mother's pearls from falling onto the cold asphalt. Let's talk about the residue left beneath that armor. Wayne Manor is now nothing more than a tomb for a man who refuses to exist. Bruce Wayne is no longer a human being. He is the fallout of an emotional explosion that happened years ago. He no longer consumes food for pleasure, he doesn't sleep to dream, and he doesn't speak to communicate. He has committed the most extreme form of identity dissociation. To him, being Bruce is a sickening stage role, a mask he has to wear during the day, while being Batman is the only time he feels honest. This is a form of depression that manifests as militaristic functionality. He isolates himself not because he hates the world, but because he is too terrified of the world seeing how fragile he is without 40 kilograms of armor. He is a ghost, trapped in a war machine of his own making, a soul that chooses to be a weapon because he is too much of a coward to be a human being who can bleed. The biggest shock to Bruce Wayne's system occurs when he realizes that his suffering does not grant him the privilege to act as a moral judge. The Riddler arrives as an unforeseen variable, the logical conclusion of the philosophy of vengeance he so reveres. Edward Nashton isn't just an enemy. He is a cracked mirror reflecting what happens when rage is allowed to grow without direction. When the Riddler's follower whispers, "I'm vengeance," Bruce is forced to swallow the bitter truth that the violence he sows doesn't birth peace, but rather a horrifying imitation. He realizes that all this time, he has been handing Gotham a new dictionary of hate. If you use darkness as your only tool, you cannot complain when that darkness is used by others for different purposes. At this point, Bruce reaches the limits of his logic. Fear is a remarkably fragile ruler. It can make people kneel, but it can never make them believe. Amidst the flood drowning the remnants of Gotham's hope, Bruce does something more painful than taking a bullet. He decides to step out of the shadows. Igniting the red flare in the middle of the deluge isn't merely an act of rescue. It is a total surrender. He relinquishes the safety of the dark to become a visible target for everyone. That red glare is not a symbol of victory. It is a symbol of sacrifice from a man who knows that from this moment on, his life is no longer his own. He is no longer allowed to die in his vengeance. He is forced to live in his responsibility. The hand he reaches out to the citizens of Gotham is a trembling hand, a hand still stained with the blood of his own past, yet one that must become an anchor for those who are drowning. He no longer clenches his fist to destroy. He opens it to pull someone out of the void. Bruce Wayne's endurance is not a sign that he has healed, but rather a sign that he has accepted the wound as a permanent part of his anatomy. He remains standing among the ruins of Gotham, not because his problems are solved or his soul is whole again. He is there because he is the eternal witness to a city that refuses to surrender to its own destruction. The true curse is not the memory of his parents' death, but the realization that he must keep standing when every cell in his body begs to rest. He must stay alive because his story isn't finished, and perhaps it never will be. In the midst of the darkness he loves, he now takes control over how he rises, not because it makes him feel better, but because he knows there is someone out there looking at the night sky, waiting for a red flare to light up and show them the way home. He is cursed to be the hope for others, exactly at the moment when he himself has run out of reasons to believe in it.